When I first turned off that dirt road up in the Rockies, I thought my GPS was broken. The old gravel lane that used to snake toward the cabin was paved over, and there were tire marks that didn't belong to me. I'd just bought that mountain place at a county auction, 12 grand, clean title, my name on the deed. No liens, no drama. After a nasty divorce, it felt like the first real breath of freedom I'd had in years. But before I could even reach the porch, a woman in a scarlet blazer stepped out and shouted, "Step away from the property, this belongs to the association." That line still rings in my head. She was about mid-50s, hair sprayed into a helmet, sunglasses, like she was auditioning for a courtroom reality show. Clipboard in hand, name tag that read, HOA President, Linda Whitmore. Behind her stood a shiny SUV, kids' bikes, and smoke rising from the chimney of the cabin I'd just bought. I remember saying, calm but sharp, "Ma'am, there must be some mistake. I just purchased this property from the county." She gave that practiced smirk people wear when they think they're untouchable and said, "The only mistake here is you thinking you can own land inside Aspen Ridge HOA without board approval." I laughed. Couldn't help it. The nearest mailbox was 5 miles away, and she was talking like we were in Beverly Hills. My buddy Sam, who'd ridden up with me, whispered, "Dude, she's serious." And she was. She pointed to plastic stakes with laminated flyers saying, "Community grounds, no trespassing," and told me I needed written authorization before performing any repairs. I told her I had the deed. She said she had jurisdiction. Then she slammed the door in my face. That night, I called the county office. The clerk sighed the moment I said the name, Whitmore. Apparently, Linda had a habit of expanding her HOA boundaries to include abandoned cabins and claiming them as community property. Most folks just gave up. They didn't have the energy or money to fight her. But I'd worked 20 years in construction contracts. Paperwork was my weapon of choice. A week later, I went back alone. My cabin had been redecorated, flower boxes, solar lights, even a wooden sign that read Whitmore Residence, HOA managed. That's when I realized this wasn't confusion. It was occupation. I took pictures of everything, license plates, curtains, mailboxes, even a fake HOA enforcement sign nailed to a tree. When I walked up the trail, a speaker crackled and Linda's voice came through. "Mr. Lawson, you are trespassing. This footage will be sent to our attorney." I couldn't help laughing. "Send it to the owner while you're at it," I said. Her reply came cold and quick. "We don't recognize your ownership." That's when it hit me. She wasn't trying to scare me off. She was rewriting reality. Back in Denver, I called a lawyer friend, Rachel Porter. She looked through the documents and said, "Ethan, this HOA isn't registered anywhere. It's just a name she uses to bully people." Rachel told me to document everything, every letter, every voicemail. So I did. And sure enough, the next morning I got an email from aspenridgehoa@gmail.com, mail to aspenridgehoa@gmail.com, fining me $250 a day for unauthorized entry. No letterhead, no address, just arrogance typed in bold. Then things got weirder. I found my own cabin listed on Airbnb under Aspen Ridge Lodge, HOA maintained, host Linda W. I scrolled through 5-star reviews. Beautiful cabin, President Linda was so helpful. She'd been renting my place for months. That was when the anger turned to determination. I didn't care if it took a year. I was going to take it back. Rachel dug deeper and discovered Linda had filed a notice of intent to annex, with the county basically trying to redraw the HOA map to include my land. The county clerk laughed when she saw it, wrong parcel number, fake signatures, the works. But Linda didn't stop there. She sent me a letter with a fake eagle seal and a threat of legal action for harassment. My buddy Sam just shook his head. "She's got her own stationery, man. She's a full-time crazy." Rachel said, "Good. Crazy people leave paper trails." A few days later, we drove up to confront her. She was pruning bushes that weren't even hers, when Rachel stepped forward, cool as ice. "Mrs. Whitmore, I'm Rachel Porter, legal counsel for Mr. Lawson. This property is privately owned, and you're illegally occupying it. Linda sneered. You can't talk to me like that. I'm the president. Rachel tilted her head. Of what exactly? Your front porch. Sam snorted so hard I thought he'd choke. Linda pointed a trembling finger at us. You'll regret this. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. You think you can take my community? You'll regret it. Then a photo my truck parked outside my apartment. That chill in my spine told me she wasn't bluffing. The next morning, a deputy showed up with a restraining order filed by Linda claiming I'd threatened her family. She'd edited footage from her son's phone to make it look like I was yelling. Luckily, I had the uncut version. The judge tossed it out, but the smear campaign had already begun. Social media was flooded with posts. HOA president harassed by investor. The comments were brutal. Some folks called me greedy, others called her brave. But Rachel had contacts in the state fraud division, and once she passed them, the Airbnb listings and annexation papers, things started moving fast. A week later, the IRS opened a preliminary investigation. Turns out Linda had been running fake HOAs across 3 counties, pocketing community fees, flipping properties, even filing insurance claims on homes that weren't hers. When the FBI joined in, it got darker. They found documents linking her to multiple elderly homeowners, names, addresses, insurance policies, all with her as beneficiary. And then one afternoon, I found something that changed everything. Hidden behind the cabin's wall was a box of old letters, one from a man named Walter Green. The signature on his life insurance form matched Linda's handwriting perfectly. She'd forged it. The realization hit like ice water. She wasn't just scamming property. She'd probably killed for it. The FBI moved in fast. They caught her and her son at the cabin one stormy night trying to burn evidence. Propane tanks, gasoline, the whole place could have gone up like a firework. When they dragged her out, she still shouted, "The mountain belongs to me." Months later in Denver, federal court, she walked in wearing that same red blazer, still pretending she ran the show. The prosecutor laid out everything: fake annexations, forged deeds, Airbnb income, and the video of her tricking Walter Green into signing papers. When they played that clip, her whispering, "That's number 3," the whole room froze. Her daughter Emily testified against her voice trembling but steady. My mother said control was love, but really it was just greed. When the verdict came guilty on all counts, Linda just smiled that same empty smile and said, "Order must be maintained. Life without parole." I thought I'd feel triumphant, but all I felt was tired. The cabin was wrecked, the mountain quiet but scarred. Rachel helped me rebuild piece by piece. The community that once believed Linda started showing up, some with paint cans, others with apologies. One old man told me she'd taken his sister's house years ago. He said, "You're the first one who didn't fold." That hit me deep. When we finished rebuilding, I mounted a plaque by the porch. "For those who lost their homes to lies, may they find peace again." Then one day Emily showed up. She'd moved away, started therapy, and handed me a letter from Agent Miller, the FBI guy who closed the case. It read, "Justice isn't revenge, it's restoration." So that's what I did. I turned the cabin into a retreat called the Walter Green Lodge, a place for people who'd been scammed or lost property to fraud. We host workshops on homeownership rights, legal advice, all that stuff. The first night we opened, a dozen folks showed up, each with their own story of being pushed around by someone with a clipboard and too much power. As the sun set over the ridge that evening, I looked at the repaired porch, the laughter echoing through the pines, and I realized peace doesn't come from winning. It comes from rebuilding what fear tried to steal. So, if you've ever faced someone like Linda Whitmore, someone who hides behind rules, titles, or fake authority to control others. Remember this: they only win when you stop fighting. Keep your proof, stand your ground, and never let anyone tell you what's yours isn't worth defending. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever dealt with an HOA nightmare or a neighbor who thought they ran the world? Drop your story in the comments. Tell me what you'd have done and hit subscribe so we can keep these wild stories climbing higher, one mountain at a time.